Hey, what is up guys? It is Needle. In today's video, I'm bringing you guys what I think are the new best controller settings for console Fortnite. I know I've made a video about this on the past, but on this one I'll be highlighting some new features that have been added in the game, and some stuff I've tweaked on mine, and especially I'll highlight more of like binds if you play Claw, or if you don't play Claw, and I'll segment that. If you guys want to just skip right to that, I'll have a timestamp down in the description for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy these settings and can take something away from it. If you guys do apply any of these settings to your game at all, just comment down below, let me know what you think, how it affects you, and if you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy, turn on notifications. If you ever need people to play with, I have my own team Discord, it's Team Needle, I have that down in the description for you guys. Join that, look for people to play with, play creative games, whatever it may be. Hope you guys do enjoy. Now to get into today's videos, I'll show you guys my settings here, I'll pop it up on the screen. So as you guys can see, as of right now, I do have 7 on the X sensitivity and 7 on the Y sensitivity. If you guys have recently seen my old video, I was running 7 on the X and 6.5 on the Y. For some reason, I just switched to PC and I adjusted my 6.5 to 7, and it's just felt comfortable ever since. I feel like a little bit has to do with not having as much dead zone on my right stick when I use my shotguns, so I just bumped it up to 7. Feels a little more reactive, a little more adaptive when I am shooting my shotgun. That's completely preference though. If you guys want to lower the Y a little bit, I know people like to lower it so they can hit better like cross flick shots on their thumbstick. It's going to be hard to do regardless, but I've just been rocking 7. I feel like 7 is a good number to stand for X and Y. For me at least, it just feels comfortable to the point where I can maneuver around. I'm pretty quick when just looking around, but I can also, when I need to hit a shotgun shot, I can hone in and I can slow it down to make sure I hit all my shots. And as far as the controller targeting sensitivity and the controller scope sensitivity, I personally run them the same, and right now I have them at 0.3. The reason I have them at 0.3 is I felt like when I had them on 0.28 or even had lower, I was running 0.25 at one point. I felt it was definitely good for like medium to long range. I was hitting all my shots, but the only issues I ever had like an SMG at the beginning only and not a shotgun. I would get up in somebody's face and they would just legit get too close to me where I couldn't shoot and couldn't move around, and I needed to up it a little bit so I could actually track them while I'm really close and hit headshots. That's personal preference though. Like I said in my previous video, I do suggest running lower on the targeting sensitivity just because at this point it's so crucial. When you do get shots open, you need to hit your shots because people will build immediately. So any shots you get, you want to make sure you are hitting and that you're in complete control and you're being very accurate. And then the last setting for this one that I will address will be the controller building sensitivity. If you guys don't know how this works, it's basically a multiplier on your X and Y sensitivity. So as of right now, I'm at 7X and 7Y, and then I have my building sensitivity at 1.5. So it's going to multiply the X and the Y by 1.5. So that leads my building sensitivity somewhere around like 11, around there basically. So think about building on 11 sensitivity compared to moving and shooting around 7 sensitivity. So that's the way you should look at it. And they recently did change it where you can now edit faster according to your controller building sensitivity. So if you have a higher controller building sensitivity, you will have faster edits and quicker edits. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I feel comfortable at 1.5, but that's obviously going to be personal preference like anything in this. Take little bits and pieces and apply it to your game, whatever's going to help you. But I've noticed having anything past like this 11 range on 1.5 with the 7 just seems to be a little bit too quick where I'm not in control on the controller. I will let you guys know right now, I do use one control freak. I use like the mid-rise control freak on the right one. So it does help a little bit with the aiming and whatnot. If you guys want me to make a full video on control freaks and what I think and if they help, I can. Just let me know down in the comments below. Now that we've went over like the basic X, Y, targeting, and building sensitivity, I'll break down some of the other ones that are in the general settings that I think you guys should have on. Some of the newer ones to highlight them. If you guys might not have them on, I'll go over those right now. The first one I will be going over will be the heads-up display, also known as the HUD scale in the game settings. I currently run mine at 0.8. This is going to be complete preference. It's just going to make your weapon smaller, your material smaller, just your whole heads-up display in general is going to be smaller. If you don't know what it does, just tweak it by a little bit. You'll go into the game and you'll see 100%. But I would suggest running a little bit lower if you're not, because I know some people on controller want to be able to run stretch resolution on console. Unfortunately not, you cannot do that. But this is like a little bit of like a makeshift way to do it to make your screen look a little bit bigger. Something to keep in mind if you do want to try that out. The next one that I think is a must, and that I will cover a little bit more when I talk about Claw or not playing Claw for your settings, is Sprint by default. Either way, I want you guys, if you guys haven't already, try Sprint by default out. I highly suggest leaving Sprint by default on. It'll make it so much easier just having an extra button to use a bind for, whatever it may be. I'll talk about it more in the later part of this video, but like you can put edit on your left stick to replace it. It just frees up another really big button that people don't utilize on a controller, and it's also one less thing you have to worry about. Not having to hold it in the left stick to sprint is going to be huge, and it's going to change your game over time. This is more of a minor setting, but the tap to search / interact, this makes it pretty easy. So if you're running by and you want to get a chest, instead of holding it down and you fat finger and you mess it up at the end, you mess up, you don't get the loot, someone comes and kills you, blah, 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 whatever it may be, just have tap to search on. That way, if you hit either X or square when you go to pick up a chest, it'll just completely do it for you. But I think it's the most useful for is when you're getting up a teammate. When you're reviving a teammate, all you have to do is tap X or square once, and it'll hold the entire revive. You don't have to hold it down, worry about messing it up. So it just makes it a little bit easier when you're getting people up. So yes, please leave tap to search / interact on. The next one I'll cover is reset building choice, and I'm going to assume that everyone on this video is playing Builder Pro. I probably should not, and I will preface that right now. For all these settings, these are being assumed that you are playing Builder Pro, but if you are playing Builder Pro, you do not need reset building choice on. It doesn't make a difference. You're just going to have build instantly regardless. But if you are playing Combat Pro, or maybe even still playing Old School, I would suggest turning reset building choice on, but it really doesn't make a difference if you guys are on Builder Pro, which I highly suggest. Next big one that I see people have on that they really should not is edit mode aim assist. And the reason I say that is, if you guys haven't tried it before, turn it off real quick and then go edit. It's going to feel a lot smoother. What it does if you have it turned on, it kind of locks the edit in for you and kind of tries to do it for you a little bit. It feels pretty clunky and really uncomfortable. I would highly suggest turning that off and seeing what it's like. That's me though, it's all personal preference, but try it for one game and let me know what you think. One of the last ones I suggest turning on would be auto sort consumables to the right. What this will do, basically, let's say you're in Tilted, you pick up a suppressed SMG, and you don't have many guns, and then you find bandages, you're like, oh, I might need bandages later, let me pick these up. Instead of it going to your second slot, it would go straight to the 5th slot all the way to the right. Just makes it a little bit easier to sort your weapons in the beginning when you don't have a lot. Just a little thing for convenience that I do suggest turning on. To clarify for this one, it's going to be all sorts of consumables, so not just bandages, but also like minis, a slurp, any kind of heals, basically anything that you would have to put on manually, or like the new snow, the freeze or chill things, stuff like that. It's just going to put it to the end for you guys, so I would highly suggest turning that on. The last big setting here is Builder Pro, build immediately. This is a must. You must have Builder Pro, build immediately on. Just makes building that much smoother and that much more instant, a little more responsive too. If you don't have it on, it's going to be a little bit funky to switch to. I know I didn't have it on at first when it came out a couple months ago, but after using it, I highly suggest turning it on. It's just going to make everything smoother and a lot more instant. You're going to feel more control when you are building. And then after that, just the controller edit whole time. I am making this video tailoring towards people having instant edit on. So if you guys don't, even after my video, don't want to use the instant edit or just have edit binded to any of your buttons, I would suggest turning controller edit whole time down to the lowest, but other than that, it probably won't affect you if you have an edit bind on your controller. And now get to the big part of the video of the custom binds for you guys. So the first one I'll cover is if you are playing claw. And if you guys don't know what claw is, it's just basically a funky way to hold the controller that's going to highlight hitting Y, X, A, and B. Just basically the buttons if you're on the Xbox controller, vice versa for the PS4 controller. It's just going to allow you to hit those buttons easier while you are moving. So basically think about this. What claw allows you to do, it allows you to jump, aim, and shoot all at the same time. And that's like the goal, because if you can't jump, aim, and shoot, you're not going to be able to hang with the PC players at all. So I'll show you guys what I use for my bind since I am a claw player. So what I did to make it pretty easy is I have my map on the right D-pad now, but that's a pretty minor switch. You can have that if you're in the PS4. I would suggest having it on the touchpad maybe even. But then all I did from there, what you're going to want to do is just change your edit. I have mine on Y, but I would suggest even doing like A or X if you're not familiar with that. But I would suggest having it on Y. I think it's the easiest for me. You can hit it pretty easy. You're going to have instant edit now, so you can hang with the PC players. And then the only thing you're going to switch is just put your toggle pickaxe on the left stick, and then just put sprint by default on. Like I mentioned earlier, sprint by default is a must. I suggest for all my settings I'll give here in a second. But yes, these are my settings for claw. I'll have it up on the screen for you guys so you guys can see as well. But there you go. That's what I suggest for claw. And then for my settings, if you're a non-claw player, just a standard controller player, there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just preface that right now. You don't have to learn claw. I'd even suggest not learning claw, because I'm not sure what it's going to do in the future for my hands. I might get carpal tunnel. I might lose some fingers. Who knows? Either way, if you don't have paddles or you don't play claw, this is what I suggest for you guys. So I have it up on the screen. Pretty simple. Put your edit on X or A, depending on what kind of controller you use. Like I mentioned earlier, turn sprint by default on. Leave your map the same for this one. And then just simply change your jump to your left stick or L3. This is going to be pretty simple for you guys. This way you can just jump whenever you want. You can jump, then you can aim in midair with your right stick. You can shoot down. You can edit instantly. This is what I think would be the best for someone that does not play claw. I have had a few friends switch to this, and they've completely loved it. Their game has changed completely afterwards. So yes, this is what I think is the best controller setting for people that do not play claw or do not have access to any kind of paddles. That's why I suggest it's up on the screen. Use it if you want. Comment down below if this is what you use or if you want to try it out. Let me know what you guys think. And then for the last setting, for my people that use a scuff or have paddles, I've used them a bit in the past. I'm not too big on them. They haven't helped me a ton because I do play claw. Kind of defeats the point. But either way, I'll give you guys some tips. I would suggest for sure having, depending on how many paddles you have, I would have build on the back, 100%, edit on the back to make it that much easier on one of your paddles. And then other than that, unless there's something you really struggle with, like crouching for whatever reason, something like that, or jumping, I think you could leave those all on your controller. And then I think it would be huge to switch your weapon switches to the back. So previous weapon to your next weapon, have those on the back paddle somehow to make it that much easier and that more instant to get the guns you want out. That is going to wrap up all the tips for the settings in this video. The last thing I want to add in the video before I end it off here is that I do use one control freak. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I did recently switch over to the Xbox controller. I was having trouble adjusting to the paddles. So this is something to think about. If you don't feel too comfortable with your aim, with your just like default thumbstick, I would suggest picking up some sort of control freak. I currently have on my Xbox controller, I have the Galaxy. I have the smaller one. It's like the mid-rise thumbstick. It just makes it a little bit easier and a little bit bigger range of motion to help me just aim and get around. That's just me though. If you guys do want to try control freaks, I'd highly suggest it. Comment down below if you guys do have control freaks and what you think to let other people know. That's just me though. That's what I use. If you guys want me to make a full tutorial on control freaks or a review on it, what I think are the best, because I've used a couple at this point, just let me know down in the comments. I'm going to wrap up today's controller settings video. I hope you guys did enjoy it here. If you guys did, make sure to subscribe, turn the notifications button on, comment down below, leave a like. You know the deal, do the works. I appreciate you guys so much. Hope you guys did enjoy this video and have a great rest of your day. See you guys.